What's a song you'll never skip, no matter how many times you've heard it played?
Well, actually, so me and Max, every time we're in the car and we listen to this song, it's just like we'll just belt it out. But which is kind of funny for teenage boys. They don't usually sing. I don't think a lot of people realize. But so I think it's "Linger" by the Cranberries.
Yeah.
I think that's the name.
Yeah.
But like me and not just me and Max, but like all of our friends, we just love that song. We'll belt it out. And it's great. It's like just like guys. I think you don't usually like hear them singing, or teenage boys nonetheless.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't care if it's just us.
Yeah.
We think it's great.
That's great. You know, that's so I'll tell you a short moment in my life that's really funny about that. So that was the first song I listened to with my wife now for 25 plus years.
Yeah.
On our first date.
Really?
We sat, we were in a car that I had borrowed from my stepmom, and I played the Cranberries and played the Linger. And in order to, I thought that would be like a impressive song to play. I didn't know she knew the Cranberries, but I had that teed up for our date.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That was 1994-ish.
Yeah.
So, and now we're 30 years later and you guys are loving it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's funny. That's how, I just think it's funny how, like, I think with social media and stuff, like, old songs always, like, resurface or pop back up.
Yeah.
They become popular again. I think it's funny how that happens.
Why do you think it's that song? Did a moment happen with you and your buddy that you were like, it just happened and so it became like this little tradition or thing that you did for fun? Or is it something about the lyrics, or is it something about, what is it that you think that song gets you guys doing that?
Well, for me, the first time I listened to it, so when I was a little kid, my dad brought home an old like PS3, so like old PlayStation, and you had to like hook it up to the TV and play it or whatever, and it was this whole thing. Like, it was a really big deal. I'd never had a gaming thing, but one of the games he brought home was like Rock Band or Garage Band, and that was the one song that I knew because my dad had always played it. And so me and my dad and a couple of his buddies came over and we played it, and all the old guys took all the instruments because they were too embarrassed to sing, but I got the microphone. So then I got to sing it for everyone, and my mom and all her friends were there too, and they were all like cheering me on. I was this little 5-year-old kid who was like getting cheered on from everybody. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And then I come, and whenever, you know, me, Max, and a couple of our other buddies are hanging out, it somehow became popular again through social media and started playing. And I hadn't heard it since I was a little kid, but then they started playing it and everyone else knew it, and they started singing it. It was like kind of a hum a little bit at first, and then it's like other people started singing it, so then it was like, what, you guys know this song? And then it just kind of became a thing, and we all just started singing it together. It's just kind of one of those things now that you hear. It's like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that song has already stayed with you a long time, more than a decade, and it sounds like one of those songs that will stay with you for a long time,
definitely.
and have some great memories with it of younger life and teenage life.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's something that you wish adults understood about the generation that you and your friends are in right now? What do adults not know that would be really good for them to know? Whether it's parents or teachers or coaches. Is there something? What's something that pops out that's misunderstood, or it's just not known? And it would be really healthy.
I think just in general, just social media. Just in general, if you think about like every kid, teenager, like my age, it's got to be over 90% has like social media, you know, about, because it's everyone you know has social media. And but if you think about social media and like what kids post or do, it's all about image and like how you're viewed, and just kind of like giving off this image, like, you know, just what you want other people to think of you. And so I think it's, for a lot of kids, it's really important to them to have that, where they can like be viewed as cool, or, you know, they play sports, or like they're good at sports, or, you know, post about these cool trips they go on. And so I think it's also hard on a lot of other kids, though, who might not be able to do all that, or, you know, not really have the most interesting lives to them or whatever, but, you know, want to be viewed as someone cool. So I think it's kind of hard for kids nowadays, just because it's different than like when adults were, when they were kids.
Yeah.
Because like they never had that, where, I mean, you just showed up to school, or, you know, hung out with friends outside of school, but there was no posting or screens really. So just kind of adults, like, you know, I think they're getting a better grasp of it as we've had social media more now, but just that, like, it's hard for kids these days, you know, just there's not even the bullying fact, just the need to feel like you got to fit in, you know. Just, it's very different than what it used to be, I think.
Do you remember a time where that was extra hard for you as an individual, or a moment where it just caused you more stress, you know, at a certain age or a certain moment? Is there anything that stands out as like a experience where you felt that?
Yeah, I didn't have any social media or even a phone until I was in 8th grade, and most of my buddies had gotten it like early middle school or like end of 6th grade. And so for those 2 years, I felt like I'd been missing out on something, or, you know, I was worried that, like, you know, I wasn't as cool or something. But I'm actually very glad I didn't have that, and I think me and my friends have talked about it. We actually wish we kind of grew up in like your guys' time where there wasn't any social media, just because we wish it was like we didn't have the choice, or didn't have the need or feel to be like in that position where you need to post about life and be viewed as cool or whatever. But no, like, I think not having social media for those first couple years was like, I felt a little like behind or out of it. But, and then, I mean, whenever I did have it, though, I didn't really make posts, because I realized I was like, I don't really feel the need to be cool, like, just on social media. I wasn't a big fan of like putting attention on myself and posting and stuff like that, like some other people do. But, I mean, obviously there's plenty of other kids that do, so.
Yeah, do you see that in relationships that you have with friends, you know, people that are close to you?
For
they
sure.
Struggle with that?
Yeah, I think my sister, even, like, she sometimes feels the need to like make posts, or my cousin. I think it's girls especially have it a lot harder because they do it a lot more. But yeah, like, there's plenty of other girls that make posts, or, you know, they're out doing this. Or there was a week ago or two, there was a friend group at my school of girls, and they all posted they were at a Royals game. Like, each girl, it was like you'd go and you were scrolling, and it's like, I'm at the Royals game. So you just kind of like see it, but then think about like other girls. Maybe like my sister was like, she's not really friends with those girls, but she kind of felt like, she was talking about it, she felt like she kind of wished she was there, though.
Yeah.
It just, those girls made it seem like it was a huge deal and it was the coolest thing they had done. So I think it does leave some people feel like excluded.
Yeah.
But
do you see the waiting until 8th grade in your life? I mean, that sounds like that might have been a really good thing.
yeah.
Is that a pattern that you've seen with anybody else, with friends, where they are in a healthier place with it because they were introduced to it later, they were allowed to be on it later, it allowed them to get a little bit of a foundation and avoid some of the harder years of that?
Yeah, so actually it's funny. So me and Thomas Burns, we both were two of the kids who last two in the whole grade to have a phone and social media. And I think both of us, out of a lot of our friends, have some of the better like social skills, just because not having a phone made you go talk to people, or like, you know, if you needed a ride, you go ask someone who maybe you didn't know, like, hey, can I use your phone to call my mom? Or, you know, it just made you and forced you to go be a little out of your comfort zone, which I actually enjoyed, and I think it's helped me to this day. I feel I'm a pretty extroverted person, and so I feel like, you know, talking to people isn't uncomfortable to me like it is others. So.
Is there, so maybe stretching it a little bit, just putting you in like a observer mode or a coach mode? I would imagine that some kids that wait until later to get their phone or their social media, that they still struggle with it.
Yeah.
Right? That even though they received it later, there's still anxiety or stress, pressure.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on what that might look like? What could be helpful in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I felt the need in those years at times where it was like, felt like you're missing out, or, you know, on some big thing. But I think it's just realizing, though, that it's good for you, and social media doesn't really bring you that much joy at the end of the day. It's sure, there's funny videos and stuff, but, you know, then there's also like, you see other people posting stuff that maybe you're not at, like I was saying.
Yeah.
It feels like almost excluding. So yeah, I think just overall, you just kind of have to realize it's benefiting you more than anything.
So let's stay on that social media side of things for just a minute. What's a social media tool that you use that would be hard to drop at this point in your life?
So actually, me and Max and Thomas Burns, us three, we all deleted Instagram and TikTok this past couple weeks, just to, you know, cleanse ourselves, get rid of it, just see what it'd be like. And it's been hard because you'll find yourself, people call it doom scrolling, where you just kind of get in that, like, you have nothing to do, you just sit on your couch, you end up scrolling, but then you catch yourself for an hour and a half doing it. And it's like, could have been out going on a walk, or, you know, going on a bike ride, hanging out with friends, whatever. And so there's times though where I'll be bored and I don't want to go do anything, and I'll be like, kind of wish I had, you know, Instagram or TikTok to scroll, or, you know, do something, entertain myself for a little bit. But no, I'm kind of getting used to it now though, and I'm glad we have. But yeah, there's definitely times, short periods, where you're like missing that entertainment aspect a little bit.
Do you so in those moments where you miss it, you mentioned some things that you might fill that time with. Are you connecting with those moments now, where you're saying, gosh, this is a moment that I would typically, I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
It's not there. We're on this challenge with some buddies.
Yeah.
It's not there. Maybe you have this moment of, I wish I had it, but then it sets you into this creative place, or it makes you go do something that's, you know, good for you or fun for you in a different way. Can you feel that happening in you?
Yeah,
those
definitely.
Moments of release and
and I just was thinking, like, there was one day where Max had told me he'd jumped on the trampoline instead of scrolling on his phone, and I just thought, like, I haven't jumped on my trampoline in a long time. So I went out and did it, but I was like, it was just 30 minutes of just jumping around, and you know, I came back inside, my legs were a little sore, but it was like, that was a workout, and like I did something productive with my time instead of just, you know, wasting my time sitting on the couch. And I mean, it's because it forced me to. I had nothing else to do. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was, even though in the moment I would have maybe rather scrolled, I was after the fact, I was very glad, you know.
Yeah.
It makes you do something outside or, you know, something else.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the future, when when you're off the challenge, comes back in and starts grabbing and attaching,
Yeah.
and you recognize that, you'll be able to either invite some buddies into another challenge, or just have a challenge with yourself. Can you see that happening, where you would actually kind of see the slip happening and going out and getting some? Is the accountability thing a big piece of that for you?
Yeah, we made a group chat, and I think, so we all text through it. Like if you slip up on, you know, oh, I downloaded it again, I'm getting some scrolls or whatever, you know. I think just the fact that like every Sunday we had this idea, like we're gonna send our screen time to like make sure, like if you're the one kid who's got an extra couple hours and find yourself like, oh, he downloaded TikTok that day and watched something, like we'll catch you and like we'll hold you accountable. And kind of, I think having other people with you do it makes it much easier.
Yeah. How did that start? Who initiated the conversation? How did it get formed into a plan with some different layers to it?
Yeah.
And accountability check-ins, and we'll do this on Sunday, and we'll do it for this long. Like, how did that come up? And was there something that you know that caused it? That was the inception of the want or the desire to do it? And then how did you guys form the structure around that?
So I had been doing 100 push-ups a day for about a week. I just kind of set my mind on it with summer coming up and football season starting and basketball stuff in the summer. And I just like felt like in both sports, I think if I got stronger, obviously that's going to help me a lot. And so I'd been doing 100 push-ups a day, and I'd kind of thought like, well, you know, might as well just kind of go on this like little fitness journey, or, you know, like life cleanse almost, and delete social media, start working out like once a day at least, doing something, eating more, eating healthier. And so then I had mentioned it to Max one day in second hour, and I kind of told him, and I was like, I mean, do it with me. Like, I think it's fun, and I think it'd be easier if I had someone to do it with me. I think I'd stay more consistent to it, kind of that accountability piece we were talking about. So, I kind of talked to him about it, and then after we were walking in the hallways and kind of developed every other little aspect to it, where it was like, okay, well, now we'll send those weekly reports, and then like we'll make this group chat and tell each other if one's, you know, slacking, and you know, kind of that aspect of not being afraid to tell them like you're kind of falling back, like, you know, make sure you're staying accountable, or you're following through with what you said you wanted to do. And like we'll text, you know, I did my 100 push-ups today, like make sure you get yours in, kind of deal. So it kind of, then we were talking about it, and added each other into it, and then eventually we told him about it, and he said he wanted to do it with us, and kind of just built off that. We just set the rules.
Do you have a reward for just everybody that when you achieve it? Is there anything that you guys are?
I don't think
that you're going to celebrate. Or?
Yeah, I think it's no reward. I think the reward is just like the feeling itself, like after we break this challenge, or whenever we're, you know, on a day we catch ourselves doing something good from this challenge. It's kind of just that feeling like I feel like I'm doing something good for myself.
Did you have to be? Are you selective at all when you think about who you're going to tell about the challenge because of numbers that you want in it, and you don't want it to get, you know, don't have the wrong people that aren't bringing accountability, or if it gets too wide, then maybe there isn't accountability.
Yeah.
Do you think about that at all, or was
Definitely. We tried to bring some more people into it actually, and like tell other people about it. And then they claimed they were going to be a part of this challenge, and then there'd be a day where you would text them and you'd catch them, or they were consistently off. And then it's like, okay, like, I think we need to break some people off, you know, make sure we're bringing in the right people who want to do this or like are committed to it. And so, there's just like that aspect of, you know, like you said, the more people, the harder it is to hold others accountable, because maybe you'll catch a day where two people aren't doing something, and then it's like, okay, well, he didn't do it, I won't do it. So I think if it's a tight group of people who are willing and committed, it'll make the whole thing a lot easier, and everyone will be really a lot more bought into it.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine that if you were to live that day in the life of a LeBron, or, you know, just watch a biography, read a biography, that these would be the kinds of ways that he's behaving.
living his life,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that, but it just seems like you're doing something really unique here that is obviously helping your performance.
Yeah.
And that you have to just live in that place quite frequently to reach those new levels of performance.
Yeah.
The reflection, self-reflection, accountability, and getting the right people with you.
Yeah.
Do you see that you've done that in any other areas of life here in high school, where you've found something that you want to achieve, something that's inspired you, and where you've had some accountability in it with friends or coaches or parents? Or
Definitely. I think I always think about this in our weights class. So first hours for the football players in the weights, and so we have the weight room all to ourselves, the whole football team. And I just think about the first year that me and my friend Adam were in the class, and we saw all these upperclassmen doing 135 on bench, and we were just like, man, that's like, if you could do a whole plate. Like, it seemed so hard at the time, we were so little, but that was just like one of the big goals, and that me and him had just bought in, and he had this bench in his garage, and we'd go and we'd go work out in the summer, like just bench it as many, or like 115, or, you know, we'd build up, and every day when one of us hit a new PR, or every other weekend whenever we would do it, it was like a big deal, and it just felt we were getting closer and closer. And then one day both of us did it, and it was like this huge thing for us. It was like, we felt like we were, you know, getting closer to these bigger guys that like were inspiring to us. You know, we'd grown up loving football and going to the South football games, and so I felt like that was something that both of us said, you know, text each other like, hey, let's go bench today. Like, let's make sure we're getting on track, staying with that, and kind of felt like a same thing with this.
Yeah. What's something that you're proud of, but you rarely say it out loud?
I think personally, I've dealt with a lot of adversity in my life. When I was younger, my parents got divorced, and I was in 2nd grade, and then I ended up only going and seeing my dad once a week for, that would have been 5-6 years. And so that 5-6 years straight, just one day a week, and that was hard on me. And then it ended up, we just kind of realized the whole relationship wasn't healthy, and kind of broke it off, and I just ended up staying with my mom and stepdad for, you know, until now. I think that started freshman year. And I just think, like, for myself personally, like, my lifestyle is just, how healthy it is just amplified, and I'm just overall much happier, and I think just everything about my life has just gotten a lot better since then. But those first couple years, or, you know, whenever I originally like broke it off with him a little bit, it was very hard, and I had not really ever talked to anybody about it, really, besides my mom about it. But it had hurt me a lot and kind of brought me down. But I think what I'm most proud of is just how I handled it, especially at such a young age. Because I think every day I did my best. I showed up to school practices with a big smile on my face. I always tried to be a funny guy, like crack jokes and uplift other people's spirits, because that made me feel better. And so I think just now seeing that I've moved on and kind of found that healthier lifestyle, and looking back on it, I was very proud of how I handled that in a very mature way for such a young kid.
Yeah, I'm really, gosh, I want to learn from you there. I have a similar story. My mom left when I was really young. Parents divorced when I was about 5, and then I saw my mom about once a year after that. And whenever I did see her, it was very unhealthy, very traumatic. And then I got to the point too where I just thought, I can't stay engaged here. I need to shut this down. And so that definitely, there was a lot of pain there. So I can definitely relate and empathize with you there, how hard that is. But I want to learn about what you see looking back in that, how you did that. I think that there's so many people going through that same story. Little kids, adults that still haven't figured out how to deal with what happened when they were little. And you had something there, that there was a rescue. And I think that rescues they can have a lot of layers to them. We might not even know how it all worked out, right? But we can see things that kind of saved us in that process. Is there anything that you can share about that, just for you in your life, that where you would say this was an ingredient that mattered deeply, like this kept me alive, this kept me hopeful, this kept me healthy, again, it might just be some pieces of it, not everything.
Definitely. I think the first couple years, whenever my parents got divorced, I had just tried my best to just completely ignore it and just act like it didn't happen. And then I never talked to anybody about how I felt or anything like that. And it ended up feeling more like sad to me. Like, it ended up bothering me more. And once I kind of, I think as the years went on, I learned and developed, like, talking to someone you trust, or like other people that care about you. It's important, and it sometimes can bring new perspectives in for you, or like new ideas. So just kind of like I ended up only ever talking to my mom, and I just, like, she was the only person I'd ever talked to. And then but probably a year ago, I ended up talking to one of my other friends about it, just like for the first time. I was kind of feeling down one night, and my mom was, asleep, and just was like, I didn't really have anybody to talk to. And so I was just thinking, like, other people care about you. Like, there's other people you can go to who are willing to help you and would rather see you actually happy than struggling by yourself and not deal with it. So talked to one of my friends who I'm pretty close with, and he helped me a lot. It wasn't even that he could help me give anything, it was more just like he was listening and like understood kind of what I was going through, and he just told me, he was like, I'm sorry, man, there's not much I can help you with, but that just really sucks. Like, it was just like, I could not do that. Like, I'm like really impressed with how you handle that, but it just sucks. And so, kind of just like, for me, just, you know, talking to other people, just, you know, other people that you care about, that like care about you too. Just kind of bringing them in and letting them help you the best they can.
I haven't been great at talking about it, my own situation, until later in my life.
Yeah.
In the last 5 or so years, I've done what you're doing at 17.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done at 17. What do you think it was that made you go from quiet about it to talking about it? Can you see that at all? And what happened? Was it just, you know, you just hit a breaking point?
Yeah.
And you had to, or was it something that you saw or heard, or just a new belief that came into you? How did that happen? How did you go from not sharing to sharing with your mom?
It was definitely a breaking point for me. Just, I realized that kind of one night where I was gonna text my mom or go wake her up or something and just be like, hey, this is kind of bothering me, like, you know, or I kind of need help with this or whatever. And then I realized I've been doing that same thing for the past 7-8 years, and I get, you know, she gives me the same response every time, which isn't her fault. It's all she knows, really. She's her first time living. She hasn't experienced anything like this either before. So she was kind of giving me the same response over and over again, but I think all I needed was another perspective, or, you know, because at that point it was just my perspective and my mom's. So, you know, getting even an outsider who's not even in the situation helped a lot too, I think. And I just kind of started to think about it that way, like, you know, who are other people that can help me? And that really helped me a lot. And it was hard. So I was kind of nervous. I didn't want to sound like a kind of kid who was like soft or like, you know, like begging for attention. But I was like, oh, I actually need help. So might as well, you know, there's no hurt in asking someone else for help. So that kind of pushed me to do it, I think.
Were you pretty strategic and selective in who you reached out to?
Yeah, I think my one friend, Brody Featherston, is who I talked to. And I just thought about, like, he's actually talked to me about some of his problems. Even if it's as small as, like, a girl problem or something like that. You know, it's just, he put a lot of trust in me, asking him for help. And so I just kind of felt like, you know, if he's putting that trust in me, I feel I can put my trust in him. And me and him just kind of have that relationship where it's like, we can talk about deep stuff with each other, and like, that's fine with us. Like, it's not weird like you can be with some other people, you know, who maybe you're not as close with.
So you were able to feel comfortable and to trust him with that because he had done that already with you.
Yeah. And I think not only did it help me kind of, you know, but it was kind of like a big milestone. It's like, that's a kid who I can now go to if I need something. Because after our conversation, he was like, you know, if you ever need anything else, let me know. Like I would rather talk to you about this than just not deal with it. And it was like, that's nice, because now it's like kind of added to my bag. It's like I can talk to my mom, now another friend. But it also opened up, like, maybe I can go to someone else too, or like, you know, kind of expand it a little bit where it's like, you don't have to make a big deal out of it, but it's like, hey, like, I kind of need help, you know. So. Has that caused you to open up that conversation with anybody else, or is it still those two? It's still just those two, but I think, you know, my life so far has been, or since then, has kind of been great for me, and I haven't had much problem, but I think had I needed to go to someone else, as now, I don't think I'd be afraid to. So I think it kind of just, even though I haven't, it's allowed me to have that feeling, and I'm less anxious to do that with somebody else.
How do 17 and 18-year-olds communicate in a situation like that? Is that a phone call? Is that Snap? Is it?
We were just sending texts because it was late at night, but I think like then also me, Max, all of our buddies, all of us. There's times also though where we'll go and it'll be late at night and we'll go up to Brookwood and just sit on the playground and we'll just talk about like life, and those are like some of our favorite conversations about not even something like that, but we'll just talk about like deep things that like really interest us, or like kind of like people call shower thoughts, or something like that, where it's like deeper conversations, because we're always so like joking, we mess with each other all the time, like, but kind of to like take a step back, talk about life, or like just what each other's, even if it's like, what are you like actually thinking about for college, or like stuff like that. It's like serious conversation almost.
Yeah, and does in those moments do you see them coming because you guys have an environment that you're usually in when that happens? Is it the park that you're at that you're like, okay, I know we're probably going to talk a little deeper tonight? Or is it if I know if I'm with these two guys, like we're probably going a little deeper? If it's a late hour, what is it where do you see that coming, and how does it change from funny to that?
We kind of plan on it sometimes where we'll be hanging out and we'll be like, hey, you guys want to go like just talk somewhere? And it's like, like that sounds fun, like, and it's kind of the vibe you get whenever it's like you said, you get to that park, or we start settling down we'll be out playing dunk ball, or riding bikes, whatever. So we'll get to that point and it'll be late at night and be like, all right, let's take a seat and we'll talk, and those conversations can go on for an hour, 2 hours, and some of my favorite conversations with my friends.
So usually it's queued up with that kind of language. You guys want to talk.
Yeah.
And that's what that means.
Yeah. And everyone's bought in then. It's like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, everyone loves it. So.
Can you tell, how big is that group? How big does it get when you're in that mode?
I think at most it could be like 6 people, 7 people, but really no bigger. Just because I think you get to a group that's too big, you find a kid who doesn't take it seriously, but the 7 people that we hang out with on the daily are some of our closest friends, and so it's like it's guys that like if one person's feeling this way, or if a couple guys are like wanting to do it, it's like, all right, like everyone else is like understanding and wants to do that with everyone. So
have you seen that in that group? I would imagine that didn't start with 7 guys.
No, definitely not.
It's probably just like a flame, right? That just gets fueled by an invitation, participation. Maybe a little bit like you were talking about with your dad. Like the more people that see you open up in that environment, then they feel freer to open up, and they participate. Everybody participates now.
And it started as it was originally just like, I think every time I think about it, I think of Thomas Burns. Like the first time we did it, he was the quietest kid, and he was, I think, probably a little afraid to talk about it the first time or something, but then like we'd be talking or something, and then there was one day he threw out one idea and everyone would be like, yeah, man. And then it's like he continued to open up more and more, and it just kind of turned to a thing. Now he's the biggest talker out of us. So it's like, it's just kind of something like that where it's like, okay, now he's like, feels less vulnerable around everyone. But then like the first couple times it was just 3 or 4 of us probably, and then as we felt like we had gotten closer with more friends, or as maybe it was one of those nights we had a talk like that, and someone else was there and they were willing to talk in a deeper sense instead of just joking around and not really taking it very seriously like the rest of us do. Kind of those were the people that we kind of added to the group.
So putting you in coach seat again, maybe just on your own life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go through these like stages of life, you develop familiarity and trust and relationship, and then all of a sudden here comes a life moment that changes it. You graduate from high school.
Yeah.
And then you go to a college, and maybe you know some people, but maybe it's not the same people that were in that group, or they're less available, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it moves from that to post-college, and people move, and so I think there's a lot of transition that goes on in a young person's life.
Yeah.
And as you look ahead, what are some things that you could see for yourself in order to keep that rhythm going for you that's been so good? Obviously technology helps.
Yeah.
But there's something about, you have the texting, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the sitting at the park or sitting around a fire, and I'm guessing, is that a different vibe for you?
Definitely. Yeah. I think just that aspect of actually being with them and, seeing them face to face, and how they actually, on text it's just words. It's not, there's no like actual emotion or like, feeling behind anything. So,
how do you get that back?
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest parts about college is just, texting's, calling, whatever, but it's just way different being with someone. But I think, I don't know, maybe planning on like a grouply meetup, every once a month or however often it may be.
Yeah.
But just like setting that time where it's like, okay, everyone should be here. We're all planning on hanging out. Everyone, let's get together. Catch up on whatever it might be, or setting that time aside so that you can make sure you can get that back with them, and like maintain that friendship still.
I love that. My mind wasn't. I was thinking you were going to say something else, and I love the direction that you went, because in my mind I was thinking, okay, what's the next? How do you generate that new relationship and trust? But you went back to the same group, and you were like, we're not losing touch. Like, we still need to get together. Let's figure that out. How we get together, and that's another thing that I think people do is I know I've done it in my life where friends move not even far away, and you think, okay, well, they're 10 minutes away and I'm not going to see them as much, but there's some extra muscle that's required to create that connection, and it's hard because life is so busy and there's so much going on. But to hear you say that'd be a fight that you'd want to be in for keeping people together as much as possible. That's awesome. I love that. So what about the newness of relationships? Like when you're looking for, if that's not as accessible and available, or it starts to get wide on you, how does Luke Black, what does he want to see, and how does he most efficiently, maybe that's not even the right word, sometimes I get too stuck on efficiency, but how does he work his way into finding the next Brody and the next Max, and what does he have to do inside his head and his heart and his rhythms to even know where to go and to make that intentional? How would you make that intentional, knowing what you know about yourself now? Who are you looking for? What do these guys have that this is what these guys are to me, or this is what they value? Can you talk about some of those specific things that are in your friendships now that you would say this is important to me in a relationship? Somebody that is interested in X, Y, or Z, or somebody that values these things. want to put words in your mouth,
Yeah.
but how do you intentionally connect with the right people for Luke Black?
I think, me personally, I think I'm a big extrovert. I love being around people, and I think socializing is just, even with strangers, socializing is like one of my favorite things. I just like that aspect of life. But yeah, like for me, when I look at my friends, it's like when I first met Max, we barely knew each other, but then over time we kind of figured out with this, the same with like a ton of my friends, is that I think me and my friends are very goal oriented. I think we both, or all of us, just like working hard and sports, school, whatever it may be. Just like we're not the kind of people who just kind of roll over. Like we think very highly of ourselves. We have like confidence in whatever we do, but we push ourselves hard in whatever it may be. So that's why I think we always find time to like work out together, or during school we do our assignments, work together in projects or whatever it may be. But I think those kind of people I naturally drift towards because I respect them more.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like I feel the same way. Like I feel like we have that in common. And so I think that with Max, like with sports, when I first met him, he kind of clicked on that because he wanted to be good at sports, and so did I. And so it was something that was like, hey, you want to go shoot baskets this day, or like want to go lift? And it's like we kind of bonded over that and got to know each other more. And then on top of that, just having fun with everything you do. Like me and him always love joking, or whatever it may be, messing with each other. Just kind of makes a relationship a lot more fun, kind of like that. And then, like we talked about, also though, being able to take a step back and being serious at times. I think those three things are the most important to me.
Yeah, so somebody that values performance and kind of maximizing their gifts, talents, opportunities. Somebody that isn't just solely focused on that.
Yeah.
They can break free and just go be loose and have fun. And somebody that can step aside from the fun and the work and just pursue each other, get to know each other, care about each other.
Yeah, so, and I'm sure, there's plenty of people in the world that are like that.
Yeah.
And so as you go on and meet people and get to know other people, you'll find those people and be able to build those connections.
So you've found some values already at a really young age, things that seem to be very rooted in you, that you see a future that still has those things in them. I don't know how many teenagers have those values with that much root to them. Can you see where some of those values came from? Sometimes values just happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where this one came from. I just kind of organically happened, and I became attracted to it and it was good for me.
Yeah.
Other ones you can point to people that you saw them value it, whether it's a LeBron James or parent or something like that. Can you take those values that you have and connect them to anybody in your life, or to an experience that you personally had that caused you to search and find something? Can you share a little bit about that?
I just think, you look back at my mom and my dad's relationship, and obviously love my dad a ton. There's good and bad to everybody, of course, but I mean, when you're looking for a relationship, you kind of got to make sure it's healthy for you. And for my mom, that relationship wasn't very healthy, and it ended up hurting her a little more than, she got us kids out of it, but still, her personally ended up hurting more than helping her. So I think kind of just making sure that, you hear about abusive relationships between, like boyfriend and girlfriends or whatever it may be, and even friendships, whatever, kind of making sure that when you are making those closer friends or people you want to spend a lot of time with, making sure it's not, someone that you can't trust or like that might, backstab you or just be a little more hurtful than helpful.
Have you experienced that in your life where it sounds like maybe a little bit with your dad?
Yeah.
That has been a big one. Have you had other moments in life where other people have hurt you, where you've had to just manage that in a disconnection way, in a conversational transparency way? Has that occurred before?
Yeah. So for me, when you go from elementary school to middle school to high school, obviously you gain some friends, but you also lose some friends. But for me, it was less a personal thing, and I think the same with them. It was just, okay, we don't have that same chemistry, and it's neither of us, it's not personal. Like if we want to hang out once every so often, that's great, and I think we'd have a fun time, but it doesn't need to be, we need to see each other every day. Time, like with me and Max and some of our other friends, we could hang out every day, all day, it's every time we're together, it's always a ton of fun. It's who you want to spend your time with, but then there's others where it's like, maybe limit the amount of time you spend together because you might not enjoy yourself as much, or it could even end up making you dislike the person more. I feel like I had one friend coming out of 6th grade, me and him were like best friends, really good friends, and then COVID happened and we both obviously changed growing up naturally, and then once COVID passed, we had just tried to hang out again like we did, and over time we both, like after hanging out a ton consecutively, we had just kind of started to be like not clicking like we used to, and you kind of realize like, okay, maybe it's me, I like him, maybe, but I think it's just naturally we were just different people, and it wasn't like one of us had messed up or anything. It's just we weren't really meant to be with each other all day every day like some other people are.
So if you were to give, are you familiar with TED Talks?
Yeah.
So I'll ask this question a couple different ways, just it might rattle a response if I ask it a couple different ways. So one is like, if you were to produce a movie or be in a movie, what would that's about your life? What would the title of that movie be? Or if you were to give a TED Talk, what would you talk about at this point in life? If you were to get that call today and somebody said, all right, we need you, man, but I need to know what to put on the a title or the agenda.
I think it would just be Luke Black growing up. I think I think my whole build up to my life now has just helped develop me as a person. I think had I not experienced some past, traumas or, difficulties, adversity, I don't think I'd be, able to handle some of these more mature situations. And my mom had always told me that. She said, you had to mature at a younger age, but it's going to help you a ton in the future. And I can see that a lot now, that other kids my age, are struggling with even less difficult things because they were never forced to do stuff that they didn't want to do, or something like that. So I would just kind of talk about how adversity helps build character a ton, and how I like truly believe that, and experiences help develop people.
So let's talk about bravery and courage. It's been a theme of what you've already been talking about. So maybe the answer has already been said. But when you think about bravery in your life, courage in your life. Where do you go? What does that take your mind back to in terms of this is where I was very brave?
I just think back to the milestones in my life with my dad's relationship, where it was like, all right, I think we need to cut our relationship off, seeing each other less, or something like that. And like a kid telling their dad face to face, hey, I don't think this is very healthy for us anymore. That took months to prepare. It's very difficult. And same thing with like some of my friends, where it's like, hey, I don't think it's nothing personal, but I just think we don't need to see each other every day, all day. I think I still want to hang out and I still want to be friends, obviously, but I just think naturally we should spend a little less time together, or see each other every so often, just because I think both of us would benefit more from it out of our relationship. Mm-hmm. So
how old were you when you had that conversation with your dad?
Let's see, that would have been end of 8th grade, so I would have been, however old you are then, but still pretty young to do that though.
Yeah. Sorry, Harley. Not allowed. So 8th grade, and it took a few months, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
How did you prepare for that? Because I think that, what you're talking about here is, I think that probably everybody, no matter what age they're at, there's probably a decision in their world right now that they need to make, and to be brave in. How did 12, 13, 14-year-old Luke Black do that? What did preparation look like?
Yeah, so obviously talked to my mom about it. She helped me a lot, but she kind of told me like journaling, and she told me it was really good for her. So I had tried it out and kind of wrote like practice scripts almost, and then would say them out loud and read them to my mom and be like, what do you think of this? And she'd add to them or say, maybe don't say that, kind of work around that. And then, but overall, just like thinking about like, I need to do this so that in a month's time, my life will just be much better for me, and everything about it, I'll be a lot happier and kind of, feel less depressed or, down on myself. So I think just after the time, still living through that period where it was like, this sucks, like it's nothing good's coming out of it. After living through that, realizing it can be better, I just have to do this, I was willing 1,000%. All right, I'll do it. Gotta do it.
You must have been giving yourself quite a bit of space to think and to just be with yourself.
Yeah.
In that time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah. There's a ton of times like where it'd be late at night, my mom would be, in the living room watching TV, whatever, my sister's doing something, and I'd just be in my room. But I mean, the amount of times where I'm just in my head just thinking about like, what if I do this? What if I do this? Or, replaying different scenarios, or, just thinking about pros, cons, anything. Just a lot of time just kind of talking to yourself in your head a little bit.
Yeah. How do you care for yourself in those harder moments in life where the stress is there, prepping is good, but it's tiring. You feeling pressure? Do you have levers that you pull to just take care of yourself and find what you need and give yourself what you need?
Yeah, and that would growing up, that was the hardest thing for me. Like, all throughout all those years, my mom had always told me, like, you need to start thinking about yourself here too. You got to make sure, like, you're healthy, because she would say, you're not the parent in this situation. You don't need to take care of him. He does whatever, you know, but he needs to be taking care of you, which he's not. And so my mom would say, you know, like, make sure you're thinking about yourself. Make sure you're thinking about yourself. Like, do this, do this, do this, but then help other people, you know, just be considerate and all, but at the end of the day, like, are you okay? Like, you know, how do you feel after doing that? And so, I mean, I always heard her, what she was saying, but it just, like, mentally, I couldn't, like, get myself to do that naturally. I think I have a big heart, but then it ends up hurting me sometimes because I worry about other people more than myself. So, yeah, but, you know, after time, I kind of realized, like, you know, maybe it is time I start taking care of myself. And, you know, if I can't take care of myself, I can't help others too. Just kind of deal. So, yeah, just building those healthy relationships for yourself too is big.
So you have people that you can rely on, that you can reach out to, your mom and a buddy and some friends. What else do you do to relieve stress? What's a go-to for Luke Black?
Exercise. Just obviously playing 3 different sports. I love being out and doing something. So I just find any time I'm doing anything active, whether that's, you know, swimming or, you know, go shooting hoops for an hour, running routes, you know, taking batting practice, you know, just running, whatever. I tend to take my mind off things, and I usually like to do that with friends. So, you know, being with other people too helps me a lot, and kind of not necessarily not talking about it with them because I'm afraid to, but because it helps me take my mind off of it and kind of clears my head a little bit. It's like, it's just a lot easier that way. And always leaves me coming home and gets rid of all stress, and I feel like accomplished and feel a lot better after. So,
you still journal sometimes?
I do. I have this one in my this small journal in my room, but I do it every now and then. I'll usually do it if I'm really bugged about something. But I think writing it down helps a lot, because when you're thinking in your head, I feel like you can get partial ideas out, but then if you're writing it down, there's times you're talking about it, it just starts coming out and flowing. There's times I'll catch myself writing something down, and I'll write it down, and I'll look back and read it, and I didn't even think about that. Or it's like, you know, I just wrote it down just because I was thinking it, but I couldn't, you know, get myself to realize it.
Yeah. You ever use music as a way to regulate and get peace? Or
yeah, I love music. If I find it easier to play songs that like linger, like I know every word to like those songs, and if I play a song that I know the words to, it's a lot easier for me too, just because, you know, it's almost like talking, but it's, you know, in a different way. So it helps me because I have to focus on saying the right words at a song, but, you know, it kind of distracts you though. So something like that for me.
How do you do creativity or art in your life? Is that something that obviously it would happen in relationships, right? And it would happen in the fun that you have. Journaling. Are there any other expressions of art? I mean, even, you know, the way that you play a game, there's artistry to that. But anything else?
Yeah, when I was younger, and I first kind of started to deal with my adversity, my mom had got me a coloring book and a like how to draw book too, and she just said, like, if you're ever feeling down, just color in the lines, or, you know, learn how to draw something. And so I had that, and I completed it, and I had done that for probably 4 years, and it helped just to, you know, do that, and I'd play some music and do that, and it was great. It kind of was a new way to relieve stress in like a relaxing way instead of like a physical intense workout or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, gosh, you know yourself so well. Let's look out. Let's look to Luke Black when he's, I don't know, how far out can you see Luke Black right now? Maybe it's not his whole life, but it could be a year, it could be 3 years, 10 years. Whatever that kind of furthest out mark is that you can see, and you can see life looking like something.
Mm-hmm.
How far out is that for you?
For me, I've only really planned it to about college, start of college, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I always think about one thing. I had a health teacher that told me that the average college student changes their major 3 times. And so that always stuck with me because, whatever I picked the first time, there's a good chance it's not that. But even if it is, if it's something I really care about, it's not going to be the end of the world if it's not the right thing at first. So I kind of like to not think too far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that leaves me procrastinating in schoolwork or something, which is something I probably need to work on. But I think it also helps me, though, not stress as much about other stuff. But like in the future, though, we had an ELA assignment that I thought was the most helpful assignment I've done. And it was a 7-step kind of guide, whereas you write out and you come up and you research a ton of different majors and stuff, and then you do the same thing for colleges that like you could be interested in, or colleges that do well in that major, and kind of prices and like what would be realistic for you and your family. But it just like kind of helped me realize options and like what there is there. And I thought it was super helpful because before that assignment I had no idea about any college stuff. I didn't know like any majors or anything I'd be interested in. But after, I kind of like narrowed it down to, I think, fields, like a couple different options that I'd be interested in. But it just helped me a ton just to see what there is and like what I like.
What'd you narrow it down to?
My number 1 would have been exercise science at KU, just because I'd love to work with athletes, and growing up and playing a ton of sports, I find it hard myself to leave that field, that area, just because I think I don't ever want to really. And no matter what, I know I'd find ways to incorporate myself into sports throughout my whole life, but I think I would love to make that like my line of work, or work with athletes or exercising or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And do you remember the name of the teacher that gave you that assignment?
Dr. Gatewood, Travis Gatewood.
Yeah, when I went to high school back in the 90s, we were in the same class together.
Yeah, my mom told me that. You guys were all together.
Yeah.
I find that funny. She said that he was
a great person and a great teacher.
Yeah, just full of life. Just everything was always fun to him, but kind of had like a real side to him too. Though.
What when you think about just learning, not even high school necessarily, but just learning. What do you love learning about?
I love learning about other people. So I have our assistant basketball coach, Johnny Mack, tells unbelievable amount of stories, but some of them are pretty boring, but a lot of them are like, it's kind of just like, oh, that's like interesting. It's just almost like a fact.
Yeah.
But I just like, older people especially, just learn about like their whole life, like whatever they've done, and I always find it really interesting. The other day, actually, I had him for sub, and in one of my classes, and he we had no assignment to do, so I just talked to him the whole time, and he asked me what I wanted to do after high school, and I told him exercise science at KU. And he just went on a splurge and told me about 6 different stories that he knows about like physical therapists or trainers or whatever it may be. And he just told me all about them, and it helped me like, you know, see what kind of those fields are like in real life and like personal experiences, but also just kind of his experiences in life and, you know, what he's been through and people he knows. And I think that's really interesting. My grandparents do the same thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So what is the high school education system that you're in get right? That should change.
Yeah, I think they do a good job of just kind of following their, you know, curriculum and just giving a lot of, you know, whatever the topic might be, given the information. They do a good job of getting it to us, I think. What I think they could do better, though, is just how they do it. I think nowadays with technology, it's just they'll give you a video or give you an assignment, and it's just go do that or whatever. And, you know, they don't really have the need to teach a lot sometimes now. But I always found, like, growing up, like, I just found it a lot easier if I just was talked to and told. I have an A-push teacher who's great at it. Whole class will talk, and I mean, he'll play videos, but the whole team or like whole class is together and they're watching the video, and then after he'll like debrief it with us though, and he'll write information on the board, but it's, you know, we're all learning it together, and he's always writing in detail or talking in detail about it. I just find it hard to learn whenever I'm just go by yourself and do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's an aspect of it that, like, that's good. It's like figure it out on your own kind of deal. But I think in high school it's important that you're still guided, you know, throughout a class.
What class was that?
AP US History.
AP.
And I don't think it's a shocker. Every kid in his class, whenever they take the AP test, it's like the highest percentage of 4s and 5s. So
who's that teacher?
Mr. Hirons. So yeah, he's a great guy though. So, yeah.
That's great. So, what's something about who you are now that your younger self wouldn't believe?
I think just like how appreciative I am of my life right now, and just like how great I think I have it now. I just thought back then, like, everything kind of sucked. Like, it was like I had nothing good about it. I mean, obviously nothing, but like overall compared to other people, mine's way below average. But now I think I kind of got the new mentality that like life is great, even though I had some struggles in my time. I've enjoyed my time now and like in life, and, you know, going into a day like with a positive attitude, I think, or just the idea that it's going to be a great day, like a great day, you know, it's just helped me so much, just because like if you think you're going to have a great day, you probably will. And I used to have the complete opposite, so just that has helped my whole lifestyle at the time.
Just your mindset. What's one dream that you haven't told many people about, but you hope it might come true one day?
I think my biggest dream is just to have like a big family one day. I think being a dad would be like my favorite thing in the whole world. I think that sounds like a ton of fun, and like I'm really excited to have kids. So, but yeah, I just don't really tell anybody that. But I just I've always had that in the back of my mind though.
Yeah. It's when you think of big family, what does that mean to you?
I think like at least 3 kids. Like I want like, you know, 3 to like 5 kids. I think. You know, I always think about the Burns, 10 kids. Yeah. That's like an experience. It turns into your whole life, which I think would be great. I think that'd be a ton of fun. But yeah, I think even like 5 kids. That's a lot of kids. But I think that would be a ton of fun. Just, you know, there's always something going on at the house, or you know, working with some kid on whatever it may be, helping them with homework or taking them to practice or whatever. But kind of that, you get all these kids and you get to have a relationship with all of them. I think that'd just be a ton of fun.
Do you see yourself? Can you see like a proximity that, in terms of where you live, that you would want to have come true? Are you a Kansas guy for a long time? Yeah. Do you see yourself as, no, maybe I'm a Midwest guy or something, beyond that? Can you feel that at all?
I think so. Another one of my biggest goals in life is I really just at some point want to go do a lot of traveling. Whenever that may be, I don't really know, but I want to go see stuff that I've never seen before. This year, me and my family took a trip to Texas and New Mexico for spring break, and I just thought that was one of my favorite trips because it's two states I've never been to, and it's like you kind of want to cross off the bucket list. I've been to this many out of the 50 states. So, because me and my family, we would just go to Florida or Mexico like every year, and I love those places obviously, but I like to go see new things and try new things. So going to those two states was really awesome. But overall though, I think I want to go travel and have that point in my life where I go see stuff, but I always want to kind of come back to my roots, and I think Kansas is great, and I love being here, and I love South too. I think it's a great school. The culture there is great. Like everybody just, so much school spirit, like proud to be a Raider. So, I think I see myself doing traveling at some point in my life, but coming back to here and like starting a family here though.
Are there any specific places that you're interested in traveling to next, or when you have the means to just control the trip?
I think out of the country, so like Europe or something would be really cool, because I have a couple of cousins who did some foreign exchange student for college or whatever. So I think that would be a blast. Just take a month and for college go and just explore. They went to Ireland and Germany and a couple of countries over there, and they said it was one of the coolest experiences ever, just because it's different. It's nothing like over here in the U.S. So I think going out to Europe would be pretty cool. Just anywhere in there though, Italy, something like that.
I've heard a little bit about shenanigans that go on the weekends with the fellas. Some fun adventure. Heard about some trips to see some ghosts. I've heard about sneaking into some pools that city pools and at night, and having some adventure there. Obviously the late nights, just kind of chilling at a park. What's up there as like something that is a favorite for you, and tell me about it.
I think definitely like going to the pool is like one of my favorites. We call it adrenaline runs because it gives you the most adrenaline, but we also talk about it being for our dad lore. So like when we're older, we'll be like, me and my buddies used to go do this all the time. But no, I think it's a lot of fun because it's, obviously we're not supposed to be doing that, but it gives us kind of that fun adrenaline, and it's like something to do, and everybody's just in a great mood all the time, and it's like everyone's like together doing it, and it's a ton of fun. So that's like gotta be one of my favorite things we do.
What do you think the common adrenaline adventure thing is for teens right now on a weekend?
I think for a lot of kids, it's just like, honestly, for most kids, it's probably just like partying and like drinking they think that's the adrenaline in itself, I think. I think it's rare you catch a friend group that goes out and does stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's kind of unique about our friend group is that Brody Featherston, he's a senior, obviously. Him and his buddies kind of do that all weekend, but he wasn't the kind of guy that likes to do that stuff a lot. And so he started to hang out with us because he was like, "You guys are fun. You do stuff. Like, you go out and you, like, are active. You're, like, you know, riding bikes. We're, you know, walking, running from place to place. Like, play like a kid still." So he's like, I miss that aspect of life. So he said he really enjoys that about our friend group, and so do I. So,
So as you go into next week, as you go into your senior year of high school, you've talked about a lot of things here today. You've talked about just friendship, just mental health, physical health. You've talked about performance and values and travel. How do you, is there anything today that, as you talk through some of those things and just reflect, it makes you want to grab hold of something a little bit tighter, or form something that you can feel some energy around that isn't formed yet, but you're feeling it? Is there anything at all today that stirred you up a little bit to a place of action?
I think just reflecting on, you know, my life, just kind of bring it, you know, out in the open to see, just like about how I've grown up and everything like that, and what the future is about to become for me. You know, me and a lot of my friends, good chance we end up going to different places. So I'm excited for that though, and that start of a new life almost. I kind of want to like hold on to that old life a little bit, you know, where you want, you know, life is so great you don't want it to change, but it has to eventually. So I think I want to hold on to my friends and family, obviously, and see them every day. While that's not the case, I think, yeah, just making sure that I still maintain that relationship, but then I'm also excited to build new relationships and go, you know, do new things and meet new people and kind of start that new life almost.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Have you told your buddies yet what you just said about how you don't want to lose what you have, that what it means to you, how you maybe see it working, when there will be so many forces at play for it to not work? Have you talked at all? Have you had that conversation a little bit, just looking out?
No, I think all of us have kind of danced around the idea of college, just kind of hoping it's so far away, even though we know it's not anymore.
Yeah.
I think it'll come eventually.
Yeah.
Just we're gonna have to at some point. Obviously, when you're little, like I would talk to my friends like, "Yeah, when you grow up, you want to live together with me, and you know, we'll move out to California and go play on the beach every day or something like that." You know, you have those fun little dreams that are not very realistic, but I think at this point, coming up with a realistic plan of like I was talking about earlier, like we should get together once a month still, like when we get to college, you know, just to see each other and hang out, make sure, you know, we're all still friends, but then also realizing like we're gonna make new friends, but you know, it doesn't mean you have to disband your old friends.
Yeah.
There's always room for more. So
yeah. Yeah, I love the, do you know the word agency? It might be a word that you enjoy looking up or even watching a podcast or two on it. I see that in you, for sure. Lots of different ways and examples to define it. I think Luke Black is definitely an example of it, and it's LeBron James is definitely an example of it.
Yeah.
Mom is definitely an example of it. So you just have these people in your life with high agency. You would have this very mature agency as a 17-year-old, and I've heard it kind of described as like to just like have power and control over, like, knowing who you are and knowing where you want to go, and then being able to create that, seeing yourself and having that be true, right? Not some fictitious thing that you want to be or hope to be or saw somebody else being, but who is Luke Black? And it starts there.
Yeah.
And when people get that part right, they have to get that part right.
Yeah.
And it's an evolving thing.
Yeah.
You're a changing person, and so it needs reflection and awareness and conversation.
Yeah.
And then going out and saying, okay, what do I want for this?
Yeah.
What do I want for this week? What do I want for this next year? What do I, and how do I do it? It's pretty easy to see some things that you want in life.
Yeah.
But to be able to have agency, to know that yes, it's true, it's real, and I know the right pace for me. I know the right resources for me. I know the right plan for me. I see the obstacles, right? That's high agency.
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed with how much you have that at your age. I wish, man. I wish I could have had that at your age. Definitely had the adversity in my life, and then became it just disturbed me, it disoriented me so much that I didn't know who I was. And so it was just a very insecure place.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the tools, I didn't feel a way out. And so the only thing that felt right to me was to be popular, and I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew that I was, whatever felt like it might make me popular in that moment, or that I was going to do it. And made a lot of decisions that just dug my hole deeper, caused me to get even further from who I was. There's so much noise and wandering, and I do look back like you do now, and I see the adversity, and even though it was significant and it felt too long, I do look at it as like something that I'm thankful for. Yeah. Because I definitely found some traction in that much later in life. But then once I got on the right track, it felt that security and that confidence and that peace and that joy and hope for the future. So I just see that in you all over, man. And I just see you being such a amazing resource, a very unique resource for people like me that are going to be all around you, that are, I mean, even just for them to know of you, right? Just to, they have to do some work in that to connect with people like you and to become something that's different. There's work there, but it doesn't, I don't know if it happens if they don't have a leaf blocker around them in their ecosystem, you know? And so, yeah, it's just really inspiring to hear your story. Yeah, high agency, man. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's I think that the even your decisions around like knowing how far you want to look out and knowing that like that's right for your system, where you're looking into the future and saying, you know what, here's where I'm gonna look and here's what I'm gonna see, and I'm not gonna put too much pressure out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just stuff that you can only know, but you have to somehow know it and find it. And so the journaling and the conversations and the friendships and the release valves and all of that you have at play is just magic, man.
Yeah.
So, I'll be hope that you throw out, you know, this year's going to go fast. And so I really see how important these relationships that you have are now, and I think it's going to need a little bit of this like the Instagram challenge that you did. I feel like there's a few more of those to come, and there might be the biggest one coming when it goes into your freshman year of college with these guys to say, okay, well, here's the new challenge, and here's the new accountability to do that, because this matters, man. This matters, and we're all going to be in different relationships and in different cities and different activities, and how do we have agency over this? And I think that you're going to see that just the same things that you're doing today are going to be the things that you'll wrap around it down there. And I think that that's something like a LeBron James, early at a young age, he realized these things, these patterns, and he could just keep applying them and learning. I see that for you for sure. So
my mom helped me a lot. You know, she realized, like, you know, she told me, you got to realize, like you were saying, agency, your own agency. You got to learn on yourself before you can build. You know, build other relationships or grow in life.
So I also heard it said it is like, it's agency is when you can trust yourself, right? And it starts with little things like, if you mapped out your day and just said, this is what I want to do today, where you can depend on yourself to do it. And at the end of the day, it might have been a hard day, it might have been a great day or whatever, but you could depend on yourself
that you were going to do it.
And so when you have those conversations, there's and plans and wants and desires, it doesn't have to start huge. It can just start with, you know what, today I want to get a workout in at 2 o'clock. Like, that's important to me, I want to do it. Does that float away? Does that get interrupted? Does some noise come in and steal it? Does your emotion or your fatigue, you know, and all those things will happen too. Nobody, you know, that's part of agency too, is knowing when, hey, it's 2 o'clock and it's just not the right thing for me right now. So just being able to trust yourself. And I think it starts there. Great, man. Well, thanks for all the time and for just being real and being you. And it's been special.
Thank you.